Tomorrow will be the long-awaited day, and we will see the new episode. And today, we are finally convinced of it because we were shown the final teaser, which hides some details. First of all, I told you many times that the strange image on the mural is Kane's face, and now my theory that Kane just created Candy Canyon Kingdom for one of the adventures is completely confirmed. And also the fact that Kane is depicted in the video of the sun around which everything must revolve also confirms the correctness of my words. Pomni just got tired of everything, and it's not surprising, and stuck in Texturaz like in one of the leaks that we will also discuss today. Well, Jax and Regatha are watching Candy Castle with great interest, but where is Gangle? I think that this teaser is the scene of characters saying goodbye to Candy Kingdom, and maybe Gangle liked it so much that she decided to stay longer in this nice place. It is the last moment before the release of the new episode, and we have been shown this announcement and we realize that there is a little more than 1 day left before the release of the long-awaited episode 2. We already know a lot about Pomni, and the rest of the characters and the truck, but the most interesting thing is the gun that Jax will use as a second weapon. And if the shotgun looks like it's going to shoot sweet bullets, this gun will only fend off enemy circus people. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Tomorrow, we will be able to watch the second episode of our favorite show. And also, recently, Glitch showed us the final teaser in which Kinger and Gangle became very small and were placed in a special box for the lottery, and over them, fiercely and closely watched by Kane, who is clearly up to something. It seems to me that this lottery is not benevolent at all, and on the contrary, will make Kinger or Gangle suffer. And already now we realize that the new episode will again give us emotions of regret about someone as it was in the pilot episode with Gangle, and there is a probability that in the second episode, this account will again fall on Gangle. And also, don't forget about Pomni and Gummigoo, who switched roles. And now Pomni is laughing at the alligator. And what amused me the most is that Gummigoo's body part is stuck in the textures. And for the second time, we were proved that the amazing digital circus is a computer game. But if Gummigoo appeared there, it would be right to analyze him in more detail. Let's analyze all the scenes that we were shown in the official trailer and find everything that was hidden from our eyes. And based on that, let's try to understand what will really happen with Gummigoo in the new episode. Gummigoo first appeared in the trailer with his gang and what we see. Gummigoo himself is quite a formidable character who is ready for any action to achieve his goal. And behind him, two of his friends, Max and Chad, sit quietly, but you can immediately realize that in their so-called gang, Gummigoo is the leader. You just have to look at them to realize it. The purple alligator looks like a classic fool who performs various tasks but fails all the time. And the second alligator looks really weird. There's also a truck on the other side of them that our gang is traveling in. Considering the place they are in, I can safely say that Gummigoo and his friends hardly have a permanent residence, and their lifestyle is gangster. Also note where Gummigoo is looking. Given the poor image quality, it is very hard for me to tell exactly what the alligator gang is looking at. Even after the upscale, it is still not clear what is in front of Gummigoo's eyes. However, I have a few theories. It could be just some rock, but I'm more inclined to believe that it is the Candy Castle wall. And this shadow is probably the entrance to some secret room inside the castle. But more on that later. Back to the truck, and we see that the Gummigoo gang has several of them, and one of them was stolen by the characters we already know well. And we see Pomni hanging on the roof of the truck where the alligator gang is traveling. This is also confirmed by another fragment from the trailer of the new episode in which Gummigoo looks out of the window and happily watches the truck with the circus residents wiggling from side to side. Maybe after the collision with Gummigoo's truck, the second truck got a flat tire or one of the wheels came off a bit. Also, remembered a fragment in which we are shown how the truck of the alligator gang skidded, and behind Pomni hides a purple alligator, which is soon caught and tied tied up, and left to follow him, it was Jax, but about this in another video. So we have preliminary information about what will be with Gummigoo and his gang in the new episode. Of course, this is only a small part of what will really be shown to us about this character. So let's think logically and build a storyline according to the timeline of events of the new episode. We have already realized that Gummigoo and his gang are bandits of Candy Canyon Kingdom who are engaged in robbery and plunder. And as far as we can understand, their main goal is Candy Castle, where Princess Lulilalu lives. Most likely, they have been working out a plan to rob the castle for a long time. But then, Kane suddenly intervened and sent the inhabitants of the digital circus in a new adventure. And as if on purpose at the moment when our gang was already ready. After all, this fragment with tracking confirms that Gummigoo has already thought of everything. By the way, do you remember the binoculars that Gummigoo was holding in his very first scene? Soon, Gangle has those binoculars, but we'll get to that in a couple minutes. So we already understand that Gummigoo is a negative character who will act as one of the main antagonists of the new episode. And as soon as the inhabitants of the circus appeared in Kingdom, then immediately all the plans of Gummigoo changed, and since we know that Jax is a very curious character, it is possible that he was the one who incited the other characters to go beyond the digital circus, and most likely not far from the castle, they just found the lair of Gummigoo gang and 2 trucks, one of which they successfully stole. And then Gummigoo has a more important job than robbing Candy Castle, namely the return of the truck. In this teaser, you can see a bunch of dummies furiously chasing after Pomni and Jax while Kane is watching the whole thing with his usual smile on his face. It reminds me of the previous teaser where Kane was also happily watching the fire in the circus. And if you think that these NPCs want to harm our characters, you are very wrong, because we all know that the dummies in Candy Canyon Kingdom are very different from the ones we saw in the digital circus, and in Candy Location, they are friendly and very hospitable. And I think in this case, they just don't want to let our characters go home to spend more time in Candy Kingdom. And if Pomni wants to run away after all she's been through, Jax doesn't seem to mind hanging out with the Candy characters. And Gooseworks also showed us one of their old concepts, featuring the now forgotten Gooby character that many predicted would be in the second episode. But apparently, we will only see her in our dreams, because we have already seen the full cast of the first season, and if Gooby will appear in the new episodes, it will be as a minor character that will not affect the plot. Remember Jax's usual behavior not only in the pilot episode, but also in the second episode. Usually this guy is arrogant, disrespectful, and likes to bully others. In the new episode, we will see him in this role again, but we are shown one scene that completely contradicts everything that Jax is associated with. We see him sitting helpless and sad and depressed, and if nothing had happened and he was bored, he would most likely start mocking Max, but he wouldn't just sit there and pour water. But what could have happened at that moment? It's likely that this scene preceded this one, so this period of sadness is nothing more than a temporary occurrence. And if we don't see Max in the following scenes, then we can be sure that it was then that Max was exchanged for the binoculars that Gummigoo had originally and then Gangle had. And in that case, I have a theory that Jax has been using the purple alligator as his victim for a long time, and at that moment there was a negotiation between Gummigoo and the circus people. And all of Jax's sadness is due to the fact that he lost his favorite toy. And I also have a suspicion that Jax is not as emotionless as he wants to seem, and deep down he is worried about Pomni, who was kidnapped by Gummigoo, and judging by the fact that we never saw her again, and in the next shot she flew out of the water, our alligator did not return Pomni to her friends, which could also cause a moment of sadness for Jax. Zubal almost doesn't appear in the new episode. Zubal immediately loudly asserted herself as a character not to be trifled with or mocked. Also, Zubal admires her determination in refusing to do things she doesn't like, and in the pilot episode, she had to experience punishment from Kane for it. And apparently in the second episode, the story will repeat itself, and Zubal will also also tell Kane that she doesn't want it, which will make Kane very angry, and most likely we'll see a little dialogue between the two and then some sort of punishment. And that's what we can call the final word before the release of the new episode, and that's what the next video will be dedicated to, which will appear as soon as possible after the release so that you will know everything you need to know first. Bye bye and see you soon.